Hey leaders, hope you guys are doing great. Just want to kind of send a good amount of info, but just some things that you're going to need to be aware of as we move forward and stuff. So thanks again for being there last night. It was obviously rainy, but we made the best of it. It's all good. Hopefully next week it'll be better weather-wise. So hey, just want to remind us that we want to do all that we can to help students meet, know, and follow Jesus. So if we're just like talking to students about stuff, but not about the gospel, then we need to make sure that we orient our conversations and our time with the students about the gospel. So just want to remind us of that. Really appreciate you guys and what you do, and the fact that, like, man, you're on the team and you're pouring into students and you're interacting with parents and you're messaging students when they don't show up. Like, it's a big deal. So doing all we can to take care of our few that's like in your group or in my group is really, really important. So just a reminder, make sure you take attendance every week. Make sure you communicate with your students if they don't show up. Just a simple, hey, how you doing? How's life going? Tends to be better than, like, why didn't you come last night? Maybe some of you just need to hear that, but more often than not, just a touch point with them. Make sure you communicate with your parents. Like, this is crazy important that they hear from you. I want to remind you that we gave you a gospel book. Not because we didn't think you didn't know the gospel, not at all. But actually the book that we gave you was like the leader guide. And so we're going to be ordering, we already did, but the actual gospel book. So when that comes in, we'll get you that, and then you can go through the little guide with it if you want. But it's going to be a great opportunity for you just to take some time. It's probably going to take you a couple hours to read it, but make sure you dive into that this semester. Toilet reading, read 4 or 5 pages at a time or whatever, but I don't ever want to assume that we understand what the gospel is. Like, it's a big deal. And so understanding the gospel and who Jesus is really, really important. So that's why we gave it to you to read and to dive into, not because we don't think that you know who Jesus is, just to clarify. So also, it's really important that you make sure that you and your co-leaders are on the same page. If you're not going to be there, make sure you let your leaders know, because the other leaders may not were going to show up. And so, and then we need one of the coaches to step in. So it's really important that you guys are on the same page. That takes like a few seconds to communicate that. So make sure you guys do that as well. So, hey, I want to encourage you. Actually, let me make it a little bit more stronger. If you can, please do this. This week, in the next 7 days, could you just take a video and send your parents that? So I'll give you a couple of the bullet points on how to do that so it's a little easier, but just send a video like this to your parents, because some of them may have never met you before, especially you, like the younger ones, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. But if you're a newer leader on the team, hey, how about each of you just take a minute and just say, hey, here's who I am. Just describe yourself a little bit. I love hunting, fishing, and all things basketball. You'd love to read, whatever it is. But that way they get to hear from you a little bit. We weren't able to have our parent connection night this week. And so just take a few minutes, send a video like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. And the best thing to do is just go to YouTube, upload it to YouTube, and then save it as like unlisted so nobody can see it unless you want others to see it. And then you basically, they can have that video, and there's a link, and then you just send that link out to the video. So you're not trying to like send a 5-minute video for some of you that may do it longer. So it's a great way, just that way you send a link. It's very similar to what I do when I send you this video. I'm going to upload it to YouTube. I'm going to let it render, and then I'm going to save it on YouTube as unlisted so other people can't see it. But then I will send that link out so it's not difficult to email, or you can just text that out super easy. So if you need help with that, let me know. But take the time this week to do that. To just take a little video and send to your parents of your students. So that way they get to hear from you a little bit. And you can encourage them as well. Maybe there's like an exhortation like, man, we had a great time last semester. Hey, I want to encourage you guys to keep it up. Our students are doing, phenomenal. They're growing. They're killing sin, all these things. So feel the freedom to do that. So please do that in the next 7 days to send that to your parents. So we're going to go over some scheduling and event stuff for the next month, but also like looking at spring break and even the summer really quick. So we're going to have a 9-square tournament. A week from this Saturday. It's going to be on the 30th. So we're just adding a couple of fun relational things to do. We did Zilker Park last week. It was a great time. Had about 45 students show up. Zilker Park was packed. It was pretty awesome and terrible with all the traffic. So we're doing 9-square tournament here on the campus. I believe it's 4 to 6 p.m. on the 30th. We're going to do it out in the soccer field area, actually on the basketball court area, really close to the volleyball courts. And just going to hang out with students, just a time for us to kind of get after it a little bit, some competition, give out a couple of Amazon gift cards, and then we'll have a meal at the very end, and then we'll be done. We are going to do a camp out instead of a winter retreat, which we normally do, which we call ATX Student Weekend. Multiple churches come together. It's a great time, but we didn't, the other guys, not me, but the other guys decided that we shouldn't do it due to COVID stuff. So we're going to do a camp out. And we don't really need a lot of leaders for this, but I would love to have you there if you are able to. It's going to be February 19th or 20th. We're going to show up about 6 o'clock. We're all the students. So any leaders, we'd want to show up maybe an hour or two before, get the fires going and all that kind of stuff. We're going to have just some worship time. Probably would want to, instead of doing like a teaching time, like have some students share some testimonies, have some praise and worship time, have some fun events, thinking about doing glow ball at this particular event. We'll camp out, like legitimately intense, out on the soccer fields, wake up, have breakfast, do another fun activity together, and then we'll be done by noon and we'll send all the students home. So super low key, but I think it'd be a fun thing for us to do. So looking ahead to spring break, a couple of things that we're going to be doing. So this is the middle of March. Historically, we go on a missions trip, actually 2 mission trips that take place, one to Reynosa, Mexico, and one to Colorado. And so this spring break is going to be a little different. So we're going to do a couple of things. One, going to look to add in the drive-in movie theater in Buda as a fun event to do. It will cost a little bit for each person to do that for the students. And then the next thing is we're going to try to build some bunk beds with Sleep in Heavenly Peace. It's an organization in our city that builds bunk beds for foster kids. And so really, really cool thing. For $200, it provides the material for the beds, the bedding, and the mattresses, and all of that stuff. So it's a really great price. But we will gather together and build the beds together. We'll do it out in the church parking lot. The organization will come, set everything up, all the tools. They'll bring all the material. And they said it's about 4 hours to build some bunk beds together. So I'm really excited about that, and for us to be able to, just to do an opportunity to serve foster kids in our city. But I want to encourage you. Yesterday was like, I miss time in the van with students. So honestly, I'm probably going to try to cram that in the very beginning of spring break. And then I'm actually going to try to snag some students and like go on a ski trip. I don't think I'm going to make it open to everybody. I think I may just do like a senior thing where like any of the senior guys and girls, like try to do it as cheap as possible. Like, let's just go on a ski trip and just some awesome time with students. And I know I've been talking to a few other leaders that want to do some stuff like that. So I want to encourage you. Like, I think culturally right now, I know that there's a lot of fears going on, and that's fine. It is what it is. This world is broken. Like, this world is not going to last forever. So, but I also don't think that we should not do anything for those who are okay with being together, and we can take some precautions and stuff. So I'm actually going to I'm trying to figure all of that out, but I would love to go on a 5 or 6 day trip with students over spring break. It's one of my favorite things to do. And honestly, if I only get like 5 students, like I'm probably still going to go do it. I don't have to rent a vehicle. I've just got my own vehicle, throw in the truck, so I'm actually considering driving to Colorado and taking some students skiing and just some fun life on life discipleship time together. So I want to encourage you, if you're thinking about wanting to do do that. If you want to go to a water park, if you want to, drive up and go to a baseball game, I don't even know if it's baseball season right now. But don't feel the need to say no to doing something like that. Even if you have 3 or 4 students, I'm convinced. Often I think in church world that we think everything has to be big and everything has to be like this grand thing. But if you were to take 5 students and you drive to the Grand Canyon, which is also another idea I have maybe for this summer, those 5 students are going to remember that trip for the rest of their life. They are honestly probably not going to remember any of the biblical wisdom and insight that you give them on a Wednesday night. And I don't want to devalue the Word of God, but I don't remember hardly anything that my youth pastor ever told me. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't need it. I don't remember what I ate for lunch 20 days ago, but I know that I needed it to sustain my life. And it's the same with the written Word of God, and through preaching and through time with students and time in community. I don't remember it all, but I know I needed it at that particular time for my spiritual walk with the Lord to keep pursuing Christ. So don't hear me negate those things. But But if you have 5 students and you go somewhere for like 3 days, like they're never going to forget that. And so anyway, it's on my heart and on my mind. I don't have a lot of details yet. But I just want to encourage you, feel the freedom to do that. Don't be upset if only 4 people come. Like, I think it's something that really bothers me in church world, how we devalue, well, there's only 4, like, so? Like, who cares? Like, you get time with 4 students. Like, you're actually going to have a better time with the 4 than you would with 40, because you're not going to be able to get to know 40 very well. So don't let that feel like that's a defeating thing. That's not. Like, you're giving your life away to those who are willing to show up and to go on something like that. So that's an awesome thing. So anyway, so that's spring break, middle of March, and we'll give you kind of the dates of that as we get a little closer. So lastly, talked to our student leaders last night, and looking at the summer, Amanda and I have had a lot of conversations about this and kind of what to do for summer stuff. And we'll do fun events, all about relational stuff, and we'll do all that. But so I just want to kind of give you, we're already at 11 minutes, so let me go through this quickly. So our student leaders don't want to do a combined camp with all high school and middle school. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an in-town road rules of some sort, probably stay here at our church, have food stuff here at our church, and do stuff around town for Road Rules 2021. We're going to do that and pull that off. Our student leaders really feel that that's best to do. In July, we usually do an international missions trip, and actually our church, which I'm crazy excited, Cameroon, I don't even know where that's at actually, I forget, but there's going to be an international missions trip in July, Lord willing. Also, most likely in July, I'll be promoting and taking anybody who wants to go to Reynosa, Mexico, if the border's open. And if it's not, we may know some people to sneak in, so we'll figure it out. So anyway, those are kind of tentative schedules for Road Rules. Early June, international missions trip of some sort as a church in July. And then August, we'll do middle school summer camp, and that's for 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Because Road Rules is for this year's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So just so you know, we bump everybody up at the beginning of the summer. So, and we do it at Twin Oaks Camp in Buda, super close. And the reason we do MSC, Middle School Summer Camp, at the end of the summer is so this year's 5th graders can get to know the 6th and 7th graders throughout the summer and then go on camp. So because they know some people, they feel a little bit more comfortable when we do the camp super close, because a lot of 5th graders and middle school students have never been away from mom and dad for a week. And that's a big deal. But if we do it super close, then, for those who are a little bit more cautious, they can bring their son or daughter down every day. It's super close. So they don't even need to stay the night. We prefer them to get the better cool camp experience, but it just makes it super easy for you leaders to come, even if it's only for one day. As well as for the students to be more likely to go. So that's kind of the why behind why MSC is in August. And the reason we usually do our high school camp Road Rules the 1st of June is because it's a lot easier to skip any athletic stuff or any competition stuff at all in June than it is the middle of July, because you're not going to miss tournament time if you're involved in a sport. And band ramps up hardcore, the most craziest thing in the world in July in Texas. So and it's you're going to go to hell if you miss this kind of thing. That's the pressure that our students get from that. And so I don't mean that just like that, just to clarify, but they get a lot of pressure to not miss those things. So that's why we do the high school camp early June, right after school is over, as best we can. So that way we can get as many students to be able to go as possible. So anyway, I know that's a lot. Please forgive me for such a long video, but just lots of stuff going on that I want to make you guys aware of. Thanks so much for serving with us, man. It's crazy important for what you do, because you're showing up every week in the life of a student to point them to Jesus, and there's nothing else in the world that you should be doing. This is the thing that I believe everybody should be doing. Maybe not always with students, but giving our lives away to advance the gospel is the most important thing that we could literally do. And so thank you. I know sometimes some of the groups tend to dip, and not as many students show up or whatever it is, but don't let that discourage you. The scripture defines our lives in terms of military and warfare and fighting terminology than cuddly bunnies kind of thing. It's a battle. We have to fight for students and parents to be intentional to pursue the gospel with their lives. Like, we're literally fighting on the behalf of our teenagers and other parents because we want what's best of them, not because we want something from them, but we want them just to pursue Christ. Like, so for you to show up and to do that every week matters like crazy. So I hope you know that when you send that email to those parents, and this week when you send them this cool little video so they get to know you a little bit, like, it matters. Like, so don't ever think that doesn't matter, because we're doing the Lord's work and advancing the gospel in the lives of students and parents. So please understand it's significant. So anyway, love you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I appreciate you guys like crazy. And looking forward to seeing you this Sunday at church.